stand for a moment of silence in the pledge. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's meeting to order. We'll begin with the approval of minutes of August 10th and the 17th. I believe I was here for the 10th. Was it the 17th I was absent? So if you want to do them separate, I'll be able to vote on the 10th. There's a motion to approve August 10th.
Second.
Okay, first and second.
Commissioner Keeper, you were absent.
Oh,
It was the
that's
10th and not the
right.
3rd.
I'll second.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so it's you two on us three on the 10th. Charlie, a second. First and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Krista. And then for August 17th, I was absent, so I won't vote on that. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Krista, for keeping us straight on that. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Kiefer, would you begin?
Yes, just a couple things here. Forgot my list with me, so bear with me. One, I know there's been some discussion, and John, maybe our HR director can help clarify this a little bit. When it comes to calculating your time at work during the period of COVID for that extra pay, I know I was contacted by a detention center worker, for example, who was quarantined because of a work-related exposure. So I just wanted to make sure that it was the consensus of the commissioners, and that decision has been made, that if someone had to quarantine because it was a work-related exposure, we were asking them to work, and in their line of duty, they became exposed, that wouldn't count against their percentage of time at work. Has any more come out on that?
Well, I think there may be two different things there. I think the one, if someone had contracted COVID on the job, so I think if that was the case, then that would not be counted against them towards their percentage determination. The quarantine is a different issue, and I don't know if Larry has any comments on that, but I think the one you sent me talked about someone who actually had COVID, but there's a question about if they are quarantined because they may have been exposed at work. I think that question came up too, right?
Yes, so that question came up, and I addressed that with a particular leader who agreed. On the ones where they were sick, absolutely, that did not count against any of the premium pay. But if someone was sent home or stayed home we were using an unofficial FSCRA, or those that even were asked to work remotely for safety, that time did count against their FSCRA, and that's how we've been applying it up until now. So if they had COVID, absolutely that did not count against them. But if we asked them to go home, as we did with the temp employees, or those that could work remotely, or those essential employees that did not have COVID, but we asked them to go home, then yes, that did count off of the determination. That's how we've been consistently applying it at this point.
So I'm wondering, with that line of thought, if someone was exposed at work, maybe through a citizen or an inmate that they had to deal with, and they had to quarantine and they did not develop COVID, that would count against them. But if they had to quarantine and they eventually developed COVID, they would receive credit for that? Is that what we're saying?
Right. That's the way. I know when you and I talked the other day. That's the distinction of that one.
Okay.
So, but I mean that's the way we've been doing. That's how we presented it. I mean, if the board feels differently than that, obviously we can
Personally, and maybe this is for discussion later on, but personally, I think if they had to quarantine, or it was something because it was their line of duty, it was their work that required them to come into contact with someone who was COVID positive, or they had to quarantine, I don't think that should count against them, because we were asking those employees to put them in danger just by the very nature of their job.
Wayne, I tend to agree. If I'm working and I was asked by supervisor at highway, you were exposed at work, we're riding in a dump truck, and now you have to stay home for 10 days. I'm not so sure that should be, they should be penalized for that because their intention was to work.
I agree with you all.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll go back and we'll look at, I think there were only a few of those, and
There was very few.
maybe
There
one
were
or
very
two.
few of those, but we can definitely relook at that
All right.
if that's what the commissioners would
Yeah,
like
I
to do
think
on
you
that
see a
particular
consensus.
item.
And
So-
I think there's a consensus to do that.
Review that and bring it back in front of us, okay?
We don't need to, I mean, we don't need,
We don't need a vote.
the consensus is us for do that, we'll just interpret it that way and move forward.
That's absolutely correct. We can make sure to take a
So
look at those
I don't think it
handful
needs
of
to come
ones and make
back.
sure that's done.
Yeah, I think we're good with that.
And just another opportunity to underscore, that tiered system that we implemented, it really was to recognize that, if you had the opportunity to work from home, that was the benefit that you received, in a way to help protect you and your family. But not everybody, we could afford that opportunity to, just based on what they did. So again, it's just really a way to recognize those who had to face the virus, the elements, and that's why we're recognizing those employees with a little bit more money in their pay.
Okay, yeah, and you're right, I agree, and I think there is, I appreciate the comments of the commissioner. I think there is a distinction between someone who was on the job and had to go home because they may have had contact with somebody at work. Other than, I mean, there were a group of our employees that we had work remotely to keep everybody safe. So it wasn't any specific thing, it was go home and work remotely because we wanted to keep everybody safe. So there's a distinction between that and the person who was actually on the job and had to go home based on the guidelines and because they may have been
Okay.
exposed. So,
All right,
so we're
Commissioners-
good. We'll go ahead. We'll interpret it that way.
Okay, all right, bring that back in. Thank you. Commissioner
Well, I
Kiefer,
don't
any
think-
more comments?
I don't think we need to bring it back.
That's all for this moment.
Thank you, sir, that was a good comment.
I was gonna say, just to clarify, I mean, I don't think we need to bring that back. I think
Just as long
you,
as,
the consensus of the commissioners is that, and that's how we'll interpret it.
all right, that's the deal.
Okay? All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Burkett, your turn.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to update the rest of the commissioners on the MACO conference. Last week I attended the MACO Summer Conference along with Commissioner Kiefer, and I must say that for those commissioners who weren't able to attend, you missed out on a great educational opportunity that included classes on county financial management, consensus and team building, conflict resolution, and reaching troubled kids. As well, I attended several meetings, including the County Elected Officials Coalition, where the topic of discussion included broadband service. One of the things that was discussed was who would have ever thought that broadband would become an infrastructure issue. But COVID has shown that internet service has become a part of infrastructure and is as important as electrical service. And as many of you know, Washington County is lacking in this area, especially in the southern and western parts of our county. I also attended a meeting of the Rural County Coalition where we discussed solar energy and as a part of that discussion, ways that maybe in the rural parts of the county we can utilize solar energy without affecting our farmlands and preserving those farmlands. And then lastly, on meetings, along with our County Administrator John and Scott Hobbs, the Director of the Division of Engineering, I attended a meeting with several key figures with the Maryland Department of Transportation to discuss several topics, including the widening of I-81, as well as the $7 million we've lost in state support for our roads. And Mr. Hobbs presented Washington County's needs very well, and so thank you, Mr. Hobbs. Danielle, if you can put those pictures up. I just wanted to give a special shout out to Danielle and Brittany. These two ladies worked really hard representing Washington County to the rest of Maryland. By the way, other counties were coming over to our table that Brittany and Danielle were working at, and were a little jealous of our new skate park that we're getting. And then I also have a picture of Brittany, who received special recognition by winning the Best County Representative of Representation. She represented George Washington as Skateboarding George. I don't know if you have that picture or not. Maybe not. So thank you, ladies, for representing Washington County to the rest of Maryland. And then one final comment on the Summer MACO Conference. I was finally able to personally thank the governor for his appointment. all in all, a great experience, and I'm looking forward to the Winter Mako Conference in December, where I plan on taking more classes through the University of Maryland's program, Academy of Excellence in Local Government. And then, not related to the conference, I hope that all employees will honor County Administrator John Mariano's recommendation to wear a mask. You know, we're trying not to make it a mask mandate, but we're asking that everybody try and be responsible to your neighbor and put on a mask. Finally, yesterday I visited our 911 call center. Thank you, Brian Albert, for your leadership, and to all the staff that work in the center to receive those emergency calls from our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wagner.
Good morning. I wanted to thank everybody who reached out and checked on me. I had back surgery last week. First time I ever had surgery in my old life, and hope it's a one and done for surgeries in the future. So I've been sort of out of sorts, so I haven't been making any functions. But I did hobble into HCC the other night for the 21st annual tribute to benefit the John and Teresa Barr Scholarship Fund. HCC did a wonderful job hosting. It was a nice event, and it's always for the good of HCC and to give tribute to John and Teresa Barr. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I too also attended the tribute, and again, thanks to Teresa and John for their community efforts for over the years and the money raised for the scholarship fund. And then on Sunday, I did go up to Penmar Park, one of Washington County's best parks. It's a spectacular view. It was everybody's day. Want to again thank and congratulate Faye Powers for almost 5 decades of providing music up there and dance for our community. And that concludes my report. Next, we'll go to staff comments. Todd Moser, please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is a state surplus property. The state has notified the county of the surplus property located between National Pike and Rufus Wilson Road. An adjoining property owner has notified the state that they were interested in purchasing the property. Prior to accepting bids, the state, and conveying the property, the state notifies the county to gauge any interest the county may have in the property. County staff has reviewed the property, and the property has been determined to have no benefit to the county. I'm looking for a consensus or motion to decline the purchase of the state surplus property. So this is basically just a right of refusal that the county has. The lot is not buildable. It consists of 4,172 square feet.
Yeah, you know, I park there sometimes when I go to Sweetsies just to sneak across beat the parking lot, but I don't see any reason why we'd want it. Do you?
No, there's no benefit that we can see.
Commissioners, you okay declining the offer?
So is the business looking to buy this from the state?
Yes, they would purchase that from the state. It would be a sealed bid process since the lot's not buildable.
All right.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Commissioner Lane, you okay?
I'm fine. It doesn't seem like we have a purpose, and the negotiations for purchase would be between the business and the state.
And it's an open bid process, but it's open anybody to make the bid.
This is a sealed bid. If it would be determined to be a buildable property, they do like a public auction.
Okay. All right, there you go. You got your nods. Thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing with staff comments, I have Sarah Greaves. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer. I actually have 2 comments today. The first is good news. I just wanted to announce that the Maryland Public Procurement Association, we also generally refer to that as MPPA, of which our county buyer, which is Brandy Noggle, is the president of, was awarded the Platinum Performance Standard Seal, which is the highest achievement for their membership, their advocacy, their outreach, and their professional development. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Brandy Noggle for serving as president of that organization and for her great effort. And then the second comment I have today is a follow-up on Commissioner Baker's request for $30,000 for Clear Spring Fire staff went back and we read the ARPA fund guidelines. We took a look at hotel rental funds and contingency. And after review and discussion of those, we would recommend that the $30,000 come from the Commissioner's Contingency Fund. So I just wanted to report that that's where we plan to pay for it from. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we would need a motion
Motion for that?
to pay for it out of that
All
fund.
right. Their motion?
Staff's recommendation.
Yeah, I'll motion to pay for it out of the contingency fund.
There a
Second.
second? First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank
Thank you very much. Continuing with staff comments. County Attorney?
No comments this morning.
Krista? County Administrator?
Thank you, President Klein. Good morning, Commissioners. Just a few things. As Commissioner Burkett had mentioned, I want to thank all county staff and visitors and the commissioners this morning for supporting my recommendation to wear masks in county facilities. As we said, we didn't want to require it, but we asked county staff and all visitors to do that. And from what I've observed, most everybody is doing that. So if you're doing that, I really appreciate that. And our hope is that this will be a temporary thing and the numbers will plateau and decrease, and then we can go back to what we did earlier in the summer. So I wanted to thank everybody for that. I wanted to let everybody know that our staff, emergency management, Department of Emergency Services, highways, all of our other departments are preparing for the remnants of Tropical Storm Ida. We expect rain to come in the next, 24 to 48 hours. Rain will there will be some wind associated with it, but I think the rain is the thing we're concerned about. So we'll be monitoring that. We're prepared. There's another call this afternoon with the state of Maryland, which we'll participate in. So, and of course the Sheriff's Department. I see the Sheriff sitting there. Obviously they're an important part of anything that we do, and our first responders. So keep them in mind over the next few days. I hope it's it's not as bad as they think it may be, but we are going to get a lot of rain, so just be careful. And I do want to thank staff for preparing, and we'll be ready for whatever comes our way. Did want to just remind, I didn't know if Krista was going to do this, but I just want to remind everybody that there's no meeting next week, no commissioner meeting. Our next meeting will be on September 14th, but next week at 5:30 at the airport is our 20th anniversary remembrance ceremony for 911. So that is going to take place at the airport this year. As you may recall, that's been at the city park, but we decided to move it to the airport because it gives us more room to spread out, especially with our COVID numbers. So the county and the city of Hagerstown and all of our first responders and the Sheriff's Department will be there for that. So I think all the commissioners are aware of that. Hope everyone can attend, and hopefully next year we'll be able to move it back to City Park. That's the plan. I think Commissioner Burkett already thanked, but I wanted to thank Brittany and Danielle for the booth at Mako. And Sarah had mentioned Brandy. Brandy was there too, but she was there in her official capacity as president of her purchasing procurement organization. So the county was well represented at Mako. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other staff comments? Anybody come in late? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to citizens participation. Anyone here for citizens participation? Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself and your address.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Stan Brown Jr., resident of Washington County. I was here April 20th to make a request that the road known as Colonel Henry Kidd Douglas Drive off of Sharpsburg Pike be renamed due to the fact that he was a Confederate officer, and Confederacy has obviously negative connotations when it comes to black people and the lives of black people in this country. And at that time, the commissioners suggested or stated that you would take the request under consideration. So I was just wondering if that's being considered or an update on that situation.
I think, I don't know, Kirk, if you have any comments on that, but I know the staff had looked at that. There were a lot of questions about whether it was the state or the county and how that came to be and what that really meant. So, I don't think any determination has been made on that.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think as we've advised you previously that requests for name changes are provided for under the addressing ordinance. They are generally generated by property owners adjacent to the street or right-of-way. We've gotten no request from any of those property owners abutting that property.
Okay. I'm not sure if a property owner has to be specifically involved to do that. I think there's probably a lot of things that are done in the county just because people feel like they need to be done, need to be changed. They see a thing that needs to be changed or improved upon, and it's corrected. This is a rather serious request. I'm sure the commissioners are aware of the racial divide and problems that we're having across this country due to many years of systematic and institutionalized racism. And a lot of changes are being made along these lines. I think it would be a great opportunity for this county to do something to let the people know, particularly people of color, that the county recognizes that a change needs to be made. And this is what the county would like to do to move forward, to demonstrate to its citizens, and particularly people of color, that you take this seriously and you want to see things change. You do not want to see connotations related to racism continue, particularly here in this county.
Any other comments from anyone? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens in the audience for a comment? Thank you for wiping, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other citizens? Next on the agenda is the proclamation for suicide prevention. Is Brooke Krebs there? I see you there, Brooke. Would you please come forward and introduce yourself in the matter? And we have a proclamation.
Good morning. My name is Brooke Krebs. I work at Washington County Mental Health Authority, and I am currently working on a large suicide prevention awareness campaign, and I want to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to come in here today. And I did bring some mugs to give away that have our new Washco Suicide Prevention .org website on them. So it's just been a privilege to work on this project in this community and see, I think every group that has been approached to assist in the suicide prevention awareness campaign has been incredibly supportive, from law enforcement to Washington County Public Schools to the health department to the commissioners, gun shop owners. Everyone has met this campaign, just with a great willingness to help. And I think we all want the same thing of our family and friends in this community to be safe and happy and healthy. So thank you, Commissioner Klein, for the opportunity to come in here today.
Thank you. Well, we have a proclamation. I'll present it to you, then commissioners will join afterwards for a group picture. Brooke, would you join me? Personal, thank you. Thank you for your personal commitment to this cause. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we'd like to issue this proclamation, Suicide Prevention Week, September 5 through the 11th, 2021. Whereas suicide is a public health issue, suicide is the leading cause of death among all age groups and is the second leading cause of death among individuals aged 10 to 34. And whereas 47,000 people in the United States died by suicide in 2019, as reported by the Center for Disease Control. And whereas 657 people died by suicide in Maryland in 2019, And whereas 41% of all suicides were by firearms in 2019, as reported by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And now therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, do hereby proclaim September 5th through the 11th, 2021 as Suicide Prevention Week. We do encourage our citizens to join in this observance, as this is a public health issue for which everyone has a responsibility to prevent, signed by all the commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, would you join us up front for a group picture? Brooke, we'll head right over there to the center.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Next, Emergency Preparedness Month. Who's representing? Is that Brian Lohman?
Brian and, Eric's here somewhere.
Eric, please come up
Yeah, I was
front.
gonna say, he's back there somewhere.
Please have a seat and introduce yourself and a few remarks.
Good morning, Brian Lohman, Emergency Management Planner.
Eric Hodge from Emergency Management. I'm not sure that we're prepared to give remarks, but traditionally September has been Emergency Preparedness Month nationally. It's followed by months of outreach programs, preparedness fairs, things like that. No coincidence that it happens during the height of hurricane season. As we all know, tropical storm now, Ida, is coming upon us soon. So we want to let all the citizens know to be prepared with extra food on hand, extra water, things like that. And that's what this month is all about, is pushing that message of preparedness.
And Brian, any comments from you?
No.
I think you played an instrumental role down for the funeral services of the lost firefighter in Frederick.
Yes,
I think
sir,
you
I was
assisted Dave Hayes, and I think Eric, while in their absence, you maintained some stability here as well, did you not?
Yes, sir.
Heartfelt thank you for that. When I was attending that funeral service, at least 2 Frederick County firemen who live in Washington County came up and praised Washington County for where our volunteer systems, volunteers and apparatus and behind the scenes work that allowed them to attend that emotional ceremony of that loss of service to them. So to all our county volunteers and whoever helped with that, a heartfelt thank you. That was part of being prepared. So gentlemen, if you join me up here by the flags, and we'll do an official proclamation. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, I'd like to present this proclamation for Citizens Emergency Preparedness Month, September 2021. Whereas the events of September 11th, 2001 has led Americans to face both an indescribable tragedy and an extraordinary challenge. And whereas the President of the United States has called upon the citizens to make preparedness as a part of our daily lives. And whereas emergencies may come in all types, such as COVID-19 pandemic, natural disasters, and severe weather that's looming in Washington County today. Whereas the Washington County Department of Emergency Management has worked as a team with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Washington County Health Department to keep citizens of Washington County safe and informed during the pandemic. Now therefore, we the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, do hereby recognize the month of September 2021 as Citizens Emergency Preparedness Month in Washington County, and do commend the observance to all our citizens. Slide down this way, Brian, come in. You guys hang on to that. Commissioners, would you join you guys up front here? Hang on, that's yours.
He's the tall one.
All right, ready? 1, 2. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is establishing a master deputy rank. Sheriff Lawndor, would you please already come forward? Introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Doug Mullendorf, Sheriff of Washington County. This presentation also has the concurrence of County Administrator John Martirano, Chief Financial Officer Sarah Greaves, and HR Director Larry Etchison. So the staffing of the Washington County Sheriff's Office over the last several years has reached critical levels. We're down over 15% staffing in corrections and 10% staffing in sworn deputies. In hiring correctional deputies, we are competing against the Frederick County Detention Center and the Maryland Division of Corrections. We have already lost several deputies to Frederick County, and both the Frederick County Detention Center and the Maryland Division of Corrections have starting salaries that are $7,000 higher than ours. In addition, the Division of Corrections is offering $7,500 signing bonus to correctional officers who are hired for Washington County. We simply cannot compete with these agencies and are struggling to retain the correctional officers that we have, let alone being able to hire people. We're barely getting any applications for corrections, and most of those people wash out in the background process. I'm currently mandating deputies to work overtime to cover required posts on a regular basis, and we just simply cannot continue to do that. In hiring sworn deputies, we are also competing against the Frederick County Sheriff's Office and the Frederick City Police Department. I have lost several deputies recently to both agencies. In fact, one of our deputies with 3 years experience on the job here received a $14,000 pay increase the moment he started with Frederick County Sheriff's Office. Frederick County starts their deputies at $9,000 more than Washington County, and Frederick City Police Department starts their officers at $7,000 more than Washington County. In addition, with the legislative actions taken by the state legislature on police accountability last year, I'm losing a number of deputies getting out of law enforcement altogether. In fact, I just lost a 13-year sergeant because he just didn't want to deal with the issues. He felt that the risk was too high. And that particular gentleman was an accident reconstructionist. He was a leader of our civil disturbance unit, as well as being a civil tactical defense instructor. Therefore, I'm making the following recommendations to close the floodgates as much as possible and to attract new applicants for hires for the positions we currently have. I want to change from 5 years to 3 years the number of years that it takes to attain the rank of Deputy First Class. So currently, if you are a deputy, you have to be here for 5 years, and after 5 years, you'll automatically move to the rank of Deputy First Class. I'd like to decrease that to 3 years, and I would like to move the starting salary up 2 steps, which would increase the starting salary for corrections from $39,333 to $41,039, and for sworn deputies from $45,053 to $47,341. This also would increase the lateral hires, and a lateral hire is basically someone who's already trained in either corrections or as a police officer. For corrections from $42,349 to $43,410. For sworn deputies from $48,526 to $49,733. While this isn't nearly enough, it's a way of starting to close the gates and to at least try to attract new applicants. Second recommendation is I'd like to create a master deputy rank between deputy first class and a corporal, whereas a deputy first class with 3 years as a DFC would be eligible to test for a master deputy. And it's a promotional process, it's not an automatic process. They must successfully test for the position and have satisfactory evaluations. And then only a master deputy would be eligible to test for promotion to corporal. I'm also recommending instituting the same $5,000 signing bonus that we give currently to sworn deputies to corrections. They would be required to sign a contract that would require them to work here for 3 years, or they would have to reimburse the county for the $5,000 signing bonus. In addition, I'm also recommending that we pay current deputies a $500 bonus if they bring us an applicant that actually gets hired, so that they become our recruiters per se, incentivizes our personnel to do their own recruiting. That's where we get the best candidates from anyway, and that would just give an incentive to them to be able to do so.
Hey, Sheriff, I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to get through all this.
Yes, sir.
So basically, it is safe to say that this is across the board, even on the upper ranks?
No, sir. It only applies to right now to the deputies and deputy first class.
Okay, so a sergeant, no?
No, deputy from sergeant on up through colonel, it does not apply.
Is there a
to.
reason for that? I'm just curious.
Well, because right now there's no room within the current salary scale to do that. One of my last recommendations is for the county to recommend a salary study in the next 12 to 18 months to look at the whole salary scale, because quite honestly, when you get into the upper ranks, the disparity between Washington County and Frederick County and the other agencies and the State Division of Corrections becomes huge. For a 10-year deputy, we're like $20,000 difference.
Would it be safe to say that that this is being offered also in Frederick County, bumps to attract more officers there?
Yes, actually in Frederick City, Commissioner, what they do is they have a 3-year breakout of what they plan to do with their salary schedule. So they bump all the ranks up every 3 years and they publish that. So there's kind of a strategic plan, so to speak, with regard to their salary structure so that everyone knows where they will be in 3.
Well, this doesn't seem like it to me. It would, not that I want to spend a bunch of money. It doesn't seem like to me it'd be adequate.
It is not totally adequate, but I need to do something right now. I can't wait. I mean, it is that critical. Quite honestly, if I lose just even 2 deputies to COVID during this time period, it's not uncommon, quite honestly, for a weekend to mandate 17 people to work overtime. I just cannot continue to do that.
You know, it's, and I'm not going to give a political speech, but, you know, I know what you're going through because I read it and I see it every day. I mean, the police are under attack.
Yeah.
You're losing police officers. I'm sure you're covering part of Hagerstown. I'm sure you're covering the whole county all the time.
Yes.
I guess my only concern in this whole thing is, are we penalizing the people that's been there for a while and has earned rank? Are we penalizing them?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, if it were an ideal situation, we'd look at the whole salary scale and raise it immediately. Didn't think that would be practical at this point, so I'm just trying to at least retain the deputies, the lower working class that we have.
But what's the odds of you losing a sergeant or a lieutenant or something going somewhere else? Have you lost any upper rank people?
I did. I lost a 13-year sergeant. I've also, you know, people who are in the upper ranks are retiring as soon as they get their time in, which is not uncommon. It's occurring around the state, quite honestly. And you may have seen there's billboards in Washington County from Montgomery County, Frederick County, who are attracting our people. And for the money that they're paying, it's not uncommon for them to hire people away from us.
I get one more question. I'll let the rest of the commissioners weigh in.
Sure.
How did you come up with these figures? It was Sarah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And was this the utmost that your recommendation was, or could it be higher?
Now, for what we're doing right now, this is the utmost we could do, otherwise you're gonna
Financially,
start.
by budget, is that what you're?
No, I'm saying within the realm of deputy and deputy first class, because if I start going higher than that, then I'm gonna have master deputies actually making more than corporals and sergeants.
I get it.
And so forth, so, it's a compression issue, currently.
I get you.
A comment first and then a question for the sheriff and Sarah. I've been on deputy ride-alongs. It's a difficult job before COVID, before the state of Maryland messed with some legislation recently and made the jobs and the personal lives of police officers even more difficult. One of the ride-alongs I was on, I had to hop out of the police car a couple blocks away because the shooting was involved and I couldn't be near that. So I got to see something, thankfully not too up close and personal, but I was pretty close to it. So I see the stress, the pressures that our police officers are put under, and it's real. Certainly is real. I wonder, could we use any of our, is it the ARPA funding or the federal relief funding to provide some temporary bonuses for, to bump up that bonus, the hiring bonus for new police officers or new detention center workers? You know, just like you mentioned with COVID, you know, your team is already so precariously close to being, you know, unsafe staffing levels, and the overtime that's mandated. Could that be a source of use for that money, the ARPA funding, to provide a slightly larger incentives, a new higher incentive?
I would have to defer
Because some of our
to John
shortages
or
are
Sarah
related to COVID.
make that.
I would like to look at the guidelines and get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. I'm not sure if it fits in there, but we should definitely look at that if that's what the commissioners are.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's not a good idea too, or maybe instead of 5%, 7%, or something a little, just to make sure this is adequate. I'm afraid it's not adequate.
I agree with it, it's not adequate, but I didn't want to compress it so that,
Okay, I mean,
you know, if we're raising master deputy salaries to the point where they're making more than a sergeant. I mean, we have that,
I get it.
that issue within,
Couldn't we address that issue and raise those salaries too at the same time? And
Well-
12 months for a salary study is great, but I think it should be faster than that. There's an immediate need to help your officers now, and I would support this, but even more.
I'm certainly okay with that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I know the sheriff recognized this, and he may have said this, I had to step out for just a minute, I apologize for that, but, yeah, we recognize that there are issues moving up, and I think that's what Commissioner Wagner was talking about. So, I know the sheriff, had decided to start here and look there, because that's, seemed like a logical place to start, but I think everyone recognizes that there are issues higher up, and I think, and in the sheriff's credit, he said, I'd like to address it all at one time, and I think that, we all would. You know, I don't know what the cost of that would be, but there is an issue across the board. So if commissioners would be interested in looking at that as well, we can work with the sheriff and work with his staff to.
You know, one more comment. We talk about the sign-on bonus. So your issue's kind of twofold. It's bringing on new deputies and officers and people in your patrol division, detention, but it's also keeping those that you have.
That's right.
Could there be a retention bonus as well? And
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. If you stayed after 5 years or something, that we give you a certain amount of funds to do that. That's a possibility, absolutely. You know, one of the things I want to point out is, one of the things that gets us to this point is, right now what the county does is gives a step and then usually a 1 or 1.5% COLA. Well, it's only the COLA that raises the bottom line. And that's not good for even across the county government, because it does not keep our salaries competitive and relevant. And so we need to look at that process of the whole salary scale, even across the county, and look at how we can project out, say, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of where we need to be in order to maintain that competitive nature.
And by that, then it creates other issues depending on where people fall into all those categories. So
what's your recommendation from this point on right now? What do we do now?
We
Well,
can
good.
accept this as presented, but I want to address those upper level officers that you have. They also
Yes.
deserve compensation, so I don't want to wait a year.
Well, and I'm good with that. What I would recommend is we go ahead and adopt this, and then, I can have my staff take a look at, along with the county, John and Sarah and Larry, to take a look at where we can, look at our upper ranks and be competitive with, comparisons.
I
and
think
do
it's
kind of our own
important to
salary study.
retain them as well as the lower ranked deputies. So how soon, I don't want it a year. How soon?
I think we could come back within 60 days and. have a
Commissioners, would that be
preparation.
acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
And I just want to recognize, I mean, I know the sheriff has recognized this, and there are some staff in your department that have some ideas. I know they've raised some questions and some ideas, so I think we're meeting with them soon, so I'm looking back at Larry, I think, and maybe this week, I think we're meeting, so, so we can work, we can work with them and work with you and bring something back within, as you say, within
30
60 days.
days
So adopt what you just presented and then reevaluate in 60 days.
with the
Yes.
upper
Well,
officers.
actually do an internal study.
Right.
And then come back with a recommendation for the remainder of the salary.
Is there a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you,
to the
gentlemen.
other officers, we're looking at your concerns too, if they're listening.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sooner the better. Next on the agenda is intergovernment cooperative purchase, new excavator. Please come forward, introduce yourself, and Brandy, thank you for your service to that committee down there in Mako. Appreciate ya.
Brandy Nagelmeyer for the purchasing department.
Mark Bradshaw, Director, Environmental Management.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is for the Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchase, INDG 21-0067, for one new 2021 Caterpillar excavator for the Department of Water Quality. Move to authorize by resolution for the Department of Water Quality to purchase, lease purchase one new 2021 Caterpillar excavator for a total cost of $74,849.85, and to utilize another jurisdiction's contract, which was awarded by Sourcewell to Carter Machinery out of Baltimore, Maryland. The Code of Public Local Law of Washington County provides that the Board of County Commissioners may procure goods and services through a contract entered into by another government entity. The county will benefit by direct cost savings due to the economies of scale that this contract has leveraged. Funding is available in Water Quality's operating budget for this purchase.
Commissioners, comments, questions? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, bid award for laundry equipment for the detention center. Brandy,
Brandy Nagelmeyer
Terry,
for the
please
purchasing
introduce
department.
yourself.
Terry Hill, Washington County Sheriff's Office.
The next recommendation I have for you is for the bid award, PUR 1508, laundry equipment for the Washington County Detention Center. Move to award the contract for the purchase of 3 Milnor washer and 3 Milnor natural gas dryers to the responsible bidder, Pack Industry, out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who submitted the lowest total sum bid of $58,650. The county accepted bids on Wednesday, August 4th for the laundry equipment. It was advertised in the local newspaper, the State of Maryland's eMaryland Marketplace Advantage website, and the county's website. 15 companies downloaded the document. We did receive 2 bids. The old equipment, the trade-in of $1,500 was credited to the new machines. Washington County Detention Center maintains and operates a laundry service within the facility. The services provide a regular supply of clean clothing and linen for inmates and detainees in the population, and provides a means for inmates and detainees laundry of personal clothing items. The laundry service also contributes to the sanitary conditions of the detention center. Funds are available and budgeted in the CIP plan for the sheriff's office.
Commissioners, comments, thoughts?
What company are you going with?
It's Pack Industry out of
Okay.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have first and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Next on the, thank you for wiping. Next on the agenda at 11 o'clock is a public hearing. Let's take a 5-minute brief recess and we'll begin the public hearing promptly at 11.